Pleasure to welcome to the podcast is Kaitlyn Hunsinger, D3 Salisbury. Yeah, Kaitlyn, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's going to be a ton of fun. Well, Kaitlyn, I always ask the goalies when we start the story of when they first jumped into goal. Now, do you remember that?
Yeah, it would be back in rec when they were like, "All right, who wants to be goalie?" And I was like, "I'm not running, so I'll stay in the crease." Little did I know I'll have to be running now, but I was
There,
not a runner back then.
there you go. I said I've had a post that like there's only 3 reasons why people become goalies, and one of those reasons is that they don't like running.
Oh,
And if I'm being honest, that was a little bit of me as well. I started out as a midi, and then when they need somebody to switch to goalie, and I was like, man, no running. That sounds kind of nice, right?
yeah, that was my thought process too.
Yeah, but now you do the running, but let's be honest, there are some drills like the West Jenny drill where like the team's running back and forth, and you as the goalie, your job is to stand there and make saves, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, so jump in there. Not much running. Now you grew up like in the Maryland area, right? Kind of a lacrosse hotbed. So I imagine like you've got some pretty decent coaches that kind of teach you the ropes, or no?
When I first started, it was just my dad and some books. But then I didn't really fully get a goalie coach until like middle schoolish.
Uh-huh.
And then it was just my club team's goalie coach. I think her name was Ashley. I think she played at, oh, I don't remember. It's been a while. But she was really good. And then I've just been to a bunch of camps, just seeing like all kinds of different goalies and goalie coaches and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
not really a
What
full-time goal.
Yeah, but that's great. I mean, you pieced together a lacrosse goalie education. At least you did have some coaches. There are a lot of kids out there that would be envious to be in that spot of having just a few coaches. Do you remember what books by chance?
Nah, that was
Okay.
that was when I was really young.
Yeah. We're talking what? 10,
Like
12, 13 years ago, yeah?
when I first like was like, all right, Dad, I want to be goalie.
Yeah. Which is at what age?
Uh, Probably around like 8, 9,
Eight,
because rec
nine.
was
Yeah.
like 5, 6.
There you go. And you're 21, 22 now, yeah? Yep.
Yep.
All right. So we're talking a while ago. Well, very cool, very cool. But at least, like I said, you did have some camps, and like I imagine there they taught you sort of how to stand and how to do the save movements, and you even mentioned watching other goalies, or learning from other goalies. What particular goalies do you like to watch, and did you learn from?
Megan Taylor was a big one when she was still playing. She taught me the like when you have your stick on the pipe. Like I do that now, and it's saved my butt a few times. And then just watching the goalies before me here at Salisbury,
Mm-hmm.
like MC, she was a big one. Uh, yeah.
Who's MC?
She was the starter last year.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned so Megan Taylor, she's from the Baltimore. No, she's from Pennsylvania, but she played at Maryland, obviously. But she taught you sort of how to keep your stick on the pipe. Talk me through that technique or what she taught you there.
Oh yeah, so just like when they're like rolling the crease, instead of having my stick like out in front of the pipe, I have it just like on the pipe. So it's
Like
just like taking
like
up more space.
right, kind of like not tucked in there, but like just right against flush with the pipe.
I
Yeah.
used to just have it like outside the pipe and it wasn't doing anything out there. So I started doing that.
As a game changer, at least on those inside rolls, which for girls, like you guys in the women's game, so many shots are like right on top of the goalie, right? So that is quite a few shots you'll see in that particular manner. Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree. Sometimes they're usually low though.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. Well, Megan Taylor's an awesome goalie. I mean, obviously the only goalie to win the Tualatin. And so if you're going to base your game on someone, might as well pick the best, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And she's so interesting because she's short, right? Like, so she's not like a tall goalie, and I think you're kind of the same, like structure, same build, and I'm a shorter
I
goalie
just got
myself.
a few more inches on her, but that's about it.
You do? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she played so like narrow in the base, with her setup. It was so quick. How do you describe the style that you play? Is it like you play the wider base? Are you set up sort of narrow like Megan? What's your setup?
I'm not gonna lie, it kind of just changes. Some teams it's narrow, some teams it's wider. 8 meters, I'm usually a wider base. I actually bait my left side, which is different because I'm a right-handed goalie. So like for some reason I'm quicker to the left side, which is fun. Um, and then my stick's usually just like right level with my eyes.
Mm-hmm. What is it? You mentioned it changes. So what do you, is there a system on that? Or are you just changing it based on how you feel? Or is it like today I'm feeling a little bit
Um,
slower, I'm going to go wider. I'm feeling faster, I'm going to go. Is there some sort of madness to your logic?
Watching the film, definitely like seeing how their shooters shoot. Like technically, if it's usually like they shoot lower, then I'll have a wider stance so I can get down faster. Or if
Mm,
they typically shoot higher, then I'll do like more of a narrow or like in between to be able to get those higher shots.
got it. So you watch a lot of film on your opponents.
I do.
All right. Well, hold on. Let's get right into it. So tomorrow you guys are playing William Smith. Have you watched video on them?
Oh, plenty of video.
Okay. Did they shoot high? Did they shoot low? What are we going to see out of you tomorrow?
They're usually low, kind of like the nutmeg kind of look.
Okay.
Maybe you may have the one fewer there that their 8 meters are high, but they're usually just all low.
All right. Awesome. That's cool. And by the way, this will come out way later than that game. So we can go back and see how it goes, but that's awesome. All right. So that makes sense. A lot of low shots, right? We're going to be in a wider base, a little bit lower to the ground. So I'm already there. Now, in the men's game specifically, there's some people call it flopping, which is like when there's a low shot, like I'm going to go down and end up on my butt, right? And get kind of my whole body behind it. How do you treat those low saves?
I'm very technical when it comes to it. I do the step and I 45 and I get my stick there. It is very last resort if I'm gonna flop there.
Yeah, which makes sense because Meg Taylor was very technical. That's how she made the saves, right? Like if there's a low shot, stay on your feet. And that's what I coach actually young goalies as well. I think that flopping is more, I don't know, it just leads to a lot of bad habits of what I've seen. And I've seen goalies like then a high shot comes in and like they've trained themselves to flop. So like they end up on the ground and they're like, no, that's not how it works, right? Like,
Actions to go down.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I've seen that too much. There was something else you mentioned there that I wanted to. Oh, I know why you're quicker to your left as a right-handed goalie. I do. Do you want to hear? Do you want to hear my theory? Because
Yeah, go ahead.
in particular, a lot of female goalies have said that, like they're more comfortable going to the offside, and I think it's because like you're right-handed, so your right leg is your power leg, right? In theory, has more power, and that's the one you're pushing off of when you go to the left. So you got more strength in that leg.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
could be. See, look, Kaitlyn, you're learning some new things on the podcast. Well, there you go. So learning to make saves, was it something pretty natural for you? I mean, for a lot of goalies, that projectile coming at you, not so natural, but for you, was it something you picked up pretty quickly?
Say yes and no. At first, I was definitely scared of that little ball coming flying at me.
Mm-hmm.
But then after I was like, oh, it's not that bad. It doesn't hurt that much. Then I got it under control and figured it out.
I love that. I love that. What were some early sort of hangups in your game or some early things that, you struggled with or you had to work through?
Definitely, since I didn't really have that coach, I didn't know how to do all those like steps in the correct way and stuff. So just stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I
I
didn't know
love it.
the correct technique to get to off hip because there's the over, the under, there's the step two, there's so many different ways.
Right. Right. Yeah. What would you say is your favorite part about being the goalie, Kaitlyn?
Making those saves, like those like really big important saves. It's just a great feeling.
It is. It is. Yeah. I think any lacrosse goalie can relate to that. I mean, just a save in general is such a beautiful thing. And that feeling of like, wow, there was this whatever, 80, 70, 70, 80, 90-mile-an-hour rocket coming at me. And I was able to stop it and get the ball back to my offense. It's a pretty beautiful feeling. Well, cool. So when did you decide like you wanted to play lacrosse at the next level? We mentioned the intro, you're at Salisbury D3 program. When did you decide that you wanted to play in college, and how did that come to be?
Probably like around 6th grade. I was like, this is kind of cool. I think I'm doing pretty good at it. Like, let's just see, where it goes. And then it just ended here. Just great.
Yeah. What like how did that process play out? Did you I imagine you put together some like highlight tapes of your club and maybe your high school program and sent that to the coaches, and how did it all work?
Well, my dad's kind of like a computer nerd, so he got really into the videos and everything. So he made like these really like fun videos on YouTube and stuff, and then I would just take them, email them to coaches.
That's cool. What are in those videos? I'll have to watch some of them.
Yeah, it's honestly just like my name, and then you probably can find the video.
Yeah,
But there's like my saves, clears, like interceptions, all kinds of fun stuff.
that is fun stuff. I'm also a computer nerd myself, and so I enjoy video editing and websites and stuff, and so that's cool. I'll have to check it out. But to that point, like it's very, if you are putting together a highlight tape, like including those things like chasing the ball out, clears, a ground ball around the crease, like those are very important plays. And I watch a lot of highlight tapes, and a lot of them are just save, 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 save. But like if you can include those plays, I think it really helps to capture the coach's attention, right?
I agree. Like the interceptions are surely like a huge part in the game too. Like those cutters and coming down, like you're stopping that from getting the ball too.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and interceptions. I didn't mention that. That was a huge part of my game as well. Which I want to talk about with you in a second, but I want to share a quick story. So I had Coach Tierney, Bill Tierney, right? Legendary coach on the men's side. And he was talking about a highlight tape. And he said, if any goalie sent me a highlight tape, and in that highlight tape, they showed themselves giving up a goal, I'd give them a full ride right away. And so I was like, all right, either goalies are going to hear this, coach, and send you nothing but giving up goals. But to his point, like, you never see a goalie giving up a goal. But if you have like that moment where you've given up a goal and like, you confidently pick it out of the net and flip it to the ref and bring in your team. I mean, that could be a cool thing to show, like a different side of how you handle that particular situation.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I totally.
go ahead.
I think that'd be a very cool aspect to add,
Yeah,
showing that you're like a leader on the defense.
exactly. Are you a leader on the defense, Kaitlyn? Would you call yourself a leader?
I like to, yeah, I'd hope so. I have to
Okay.
tell them where the ball is and help them out when I see things that don't go right.
Yep. And how do you deal with a lot of young girls ask me like, how do I be a leader? I don't want to like tell the girls what to do. I feel like I'm being mean. What would you say to them?
Learn the names, gain their respect first, and then you can kind of just work your way in and stuff with like the leadership and be like, hey, like maybe try this next time.
Yeah. Learn yeah, agreed. You got to get that respect first, right? You can't come in practice number one and start barking people around, right?
Yeah.
You got to know your role in a little ways and kind of respect the history of the program, right? I mean, there might be some leaders on the team that, I'm not going to come in and try and take away their role, but you as a goalie, you do have a very specific role and a very specific like view. And so eventually, you do find your voice, and it's not being mean, I don't think, right? I don't think if you're
Not
telling them what to do, they want to hear that.
Yeah, usually my defense asks me what I saw that they could do better too, and I'm like, oh, it's maybe this, maybe slide earlier, and then I'll be like, on my part, I could be telling you that too. So it's just communication's also huge.
Yeah. And that's a good point too. It's like, part of that leadership is owning up to when you made a mistake, right?
Yep.
Yeah. What else would you say to them? So you would say you need to slide earlier. What else? What are some other examples?
Um, just like communication, popping in and stuff, and then if I made a mistake, I'd be like, "That was my bad." Like I did that. That was my fault.
Yeah. Right. Like if you give up a goal, hey, play the same defense, right? Hey, I'll take that shot every single time. That one's on me. Or I'll make that save next time.
Yeah. Or even
Yeah.
with clears too, like an overthrow, you're like, "Oh, this is my bad. I got the next one."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely on clears or any sort of botched play that's not involved a save. But yeah, yeah, anytime you make a mistake, right? Yeah, own up to it and don't blame others. That's for sure. What is your training, your goalie training look like nowadays? Like kind of take me through a week of your goalie training if you could.
So definitely at practices, goalies have to get there 30 minutes early for like warm-ups. So we'll do warm-up shots and then like kind of like all over the place while moving shots. And then it kind of just varies on the day or what coach really wants to do. Sometimes the tennis balls appear out on the field, sometimes they're not there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
tennis balls are fun, so we'll do that sometimes. Or we'll do like hand eye on the side with like juggling or like the circles, ball drops, and then we call it boomerang. It's the three prong thing that has the different colors and stuff.
Oh
And you use
yeah.
so that's fun. I like that thing too.
Yeah. What is that thing called? The name's escaping me.
Yeah, we just call it boomerang. We don't really know the name of it either.
uh no, what is that thing called? Now it's gonna bother me for the rest of the I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like it's definitely not a boomerang. It's
No,
it's got like three, like you said, like three prongs, and each prong is a different color. And if people are listening to this, they're probably like yelling the name of that thing because I see it all over the place.
I
Oh,
have no idea what it's called.
all right. All right. Um, all right. Well, hand-eye tool, three prongs. We're gonna figure out the name because otherwise it's gonna get Hiko stick. Hiko stick is what
Ah,
it's called. There you go. Okay.
boomerang sounds
So
cooler.
yeah, boomerang does sound way cool. Let's call it the boomerang. So what kind of drills do you do with the boomerang?
So there's four of us, so we'll all just like stand in a circle and we'll just like honestly chuck it at each other, and it's fun. And then we actually
And just try and
have
catch it, or do you like have to? Does someone call out a color and then you got to catch that particular end?
yeah. So ours is red, yellow, and gray. So we'll be like, all right, red, and then they have to grab that red prong. And then we also just for fun we were adding in like other colors that we could do. So like red and yellow make orange, so we have to grab both of the colors. It's
Oh,
Yeah, and then there's like dark
woo!
red, it's like red and gray, and then dark yellow. Yeah, we just made it like fun. And then we also put numbers on it, but you really can't see the numbers when it's being chucked at you.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's funny. I like when I was first starting out in lacrosse goalie coaching, I saw this drill where you do that, where you have like a numbered ball, right? And you like put the number on the ball and then you shoot it at the goalie, and like with the idea being I'm gonna focus so hard on that ball that I could see the number. And I was shooting it and it was just like they were like the goalie's like it's spinning so much like I can't see like anything. And I'm like, all right, let's not do that, not do that drill. But I love that idea of the orange, right, with the calling out different colors, and now I've got to grab the two. And that really, like, anytime you can add in this like idea of like I have to think, I have to process information, when you go back and now I don't have to do that, like all I have to do is focus on making that save.
Yeah.
But as a goalie you are kind of doing that because you are like seeing everything going on around you. Like there's a lot of noise going on around you, and maybe I'm letting my defense know like where the ball is and who's the slide and who's the cutter and is this a shooter, is this a feeder, like, so a lot of stuff going on, right? And so the more you can kind of engage your mind while also making the saves, I think that those drills are amazing.
Yeah.
All
To
right.
make it safe, it's just like reading the body and the stick language as well. So you gotta watch all that and ball. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lot going on.
Yeah. What are you looking for from a girl shooter when you're reading their body language?
Kind of depends on where they're coming from. So if they're coming from low and rolling the crease, I'm looking for if they're tucking their shoulder. So I know if they're actually going to roll it or if they're going to back out and look to feed before they roll again. So I'm looking for that. And then up on top, it's more like how do they tuck their stick and like I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, here, well, let's talk it through. So the first one you mentioned is if I tuck my shoulder. So if I'm like, say I'm dodging from X,
like
right? Is that what we're talking about? Dodging from
yeah.
X, right? So what is it like? I'm coming in, and what does it mean to tuck my shoulder? Like I would like kind of go down, like I'm gonna try and get under the girl.
Yeah, like you bring it down. Like if you're running with your shoulder down, I know you're just gonna keep going and not look to feed. Like if you're coming up in here,
I
I know
see.
you're looking for that feed, so I can stay off pipe a little longer. But once I see
Yeah,
that shoulder, I'm on pipe right away.
yeah. And a lot of I do think that a lot of success as a goalie, particularly as a women's goalie, is anticipating the play a little bit. There is a little bit of like that ice hockey goalie mentality where like I need to kind of read that play and just be like one step ahead so that, like you said, if she's driving, I'm set on that girl. I know she's gonna shoot. I'm square to her. Like I'm in great position. But if she's gonna feed, I can almost like beat that feed to the spot. So now like I'm over here, right? I'm set up on my pipe. She feeds up, and then I'm ready to take that shot. So that's very important. That's cool that you mentioned that. All right, what was the other one? Oh, outside shooters.
Like up top, it's more
Yeah.
just reading their stick level almost. Like usually when it's high, it will stay high, but usually with these like better shooters nowadays in college, they can tuck it low. But
Hmm.
usually with when it's like a low stick, it's like usually by their hip, it's gonna mainly stay hip or low to the ground because it takes so much time for them to like spring it back up for that riser.
Yeah. Which is crazy. Like girls can shoot the risers now. Like 5, 6 years ago with the sticks that they had and the athletes that they had, and you didn't see as many risers in the women's game, or in the men's game for that matter. But now like so many, like the girls can do it, like shoot down low, release points low, and it comes up, right? And those are tough. But what about at the 8 meter? What are you looking for? What are you looking for on those shots?
I usually like I said earlier, I bait my left side. So like let's just say it's like the first inside hash on the left side, like I'll probably be like a good 5 inches off the pipe just to make them think they have it. And
Mm-hmm.
then if they're like standing with their like body kind of hunched over, their stick in front of them, I'm assuming that they're gonna run in just because that's just usually what girls do. Not many of them will rip them from the outside. But
Yeah.
if they do watch the films, then I am prepared to know which ones rip them.
Yeah, well, you can certainly tell by a girl's body language when she's setting up on the 8 before the whistle blows if she's going to shoot. I mean, is she doing that Charlotte North windup, or like getting ready to shoot? Um, or like you said, is she bent over at the waist, kind of stick out in front? Like there's no way she could shoot there. She's going to drive in.
Yeah.
And that helps. That helps to know. Um, so when you bait, do you do it from all hashes?
Center hash is a big no-no.
Why?
But I do just because I like to be center. I mean, it depends on who's going. If I know it's a girl's gonna rip it, I'll just stay center and I'll actually take a step back so I'm a little closer to the goal line. And then if it's a runner, I'll like depending on what hand she is, I'll stand a little bit to that side or the opposite side. So if she's like right-handed, I'll go. Sorry, wait. If she's right-handed, I'll go a little more to the right, baiting my left.
Mm-hmm.
If she's left, I'll bait my. I don't know. It works somehow in my head.
And you just know she's right or left or right handed based on what hand she has the stick in, right? I mean, you don't have like a scouting report in your mind, like, all right, 35 is left handed.
Usually I do actually.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. Like in our last game versus Gettysburg, I was like number one left-handed. She's gonna stay on the left side, shoot left hand.
Okay. So, like I said, tomorrow we're playing William Smith. Who's their number one scorer, and what hand is she? Pop quiz.
Um, there's a few of them. 22's their big feeder right now. So she's usually downloading feeds those girls. And
Yeah.
they're all mainly right hand, but can go left. They'll
Nice.
want this they'll all want to keep it in the right, but if they need to roll back, they can.
Nice. All
All the big
right.
shoes team too.
I love that. And what do they do on offense?
It's the same motion and over and over and over again. It's either a 2v2 play on the one side and a cluster on the opposite side, or they'll like set up a 1v ISO on the side with like 13 or 8. So like 13 will be up here, and then like everybody will just cut through and we'll just look to drive that alley.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's so cool. And it's such a good lesson for like goalies out there listening to this, is like have that level of scouting if you can. And obviously, you know, if you're a club, right, and you're young, you don't have that level of information, but even like you can get it, right? Like if you're playing at a tournament, I mean, and you know, send a dad over there and to watch one of their games before, I mean, all this stuff is very easy to watch and pick up in one game. And typically, you know, especially at the youth level, like the way they play in game number 1 is going to be like identical to the way they play in game number 2, right?
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. All right, cool. This is fun. What else about that team? I want to hear some more.
They pressure the goalie on their rides, or if we have like a turnover, like college turnover, then they'll just jump right away. And they got some speed, so we got to be quick on those redirects and clears.
Yeah. Oh man, that's great. I'm glad you brought that up. It's I talked about that in this training session I did on clearing, is like do a little bit of scouting and know how they ride the goal, like how they ride. So you know that if you make a save, right, Kaitlyn, like there's someone in your face. I'm not going to panic because I know what's coming, right? And now obviously you're going to have an open teammate, right? So it's a matter of like being patient. In the girls' game, you got that 10 seconds, right? Using the crease. Maybe I need to go out the back and create a little space and just finding that open girl. Yeah.
Like to play a little cat and mouse.
Play a little cat and mouse. Yeah. How did you develop your clearing game?
Definitely didn't. It was a big struggle for me until like college. It just in club it was overthrow, underthrow, interceptions. It was not good. But definitely in college it was like working with like my defense now, and like we do like clearing drills, like 3-man weave, like goalies clear it out to the side, and then like so that works on like the left-handed, right-handed throws, which is like really important.
Yeah. So throwing with the stick was a huge challenge for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. And how did you overcome that? With reps, a lot of wall ball, well-strung stick. What are we talking about here?
Definitely changing my stick a little bit helped. I didn't really know what kind of stringing to do when I was younger. I kind of figured it out now. But then just wall ball helped a lot. Just kind of clearing to like my dad got hula hoops, and we'd put them up on like the baseball and clip them up, and I'd have to hit the green hoop or something, or the blue hoop.
Yeah. Or did you ever do purple combination of red and blue?
No, there was no purple.
See, that would be good. If you had the hula hoops, then you could like overlap them a little bit, and you say purple, and you got to hit the little spot right in between.
Yeah.
I learned that drill from you, by the way,
Now you can share it with everybody.
earlier in the podcast. Um, cool. What kind of stick do you have, or do you
I
use?
do the yeah, so I have the Eclipse 2 head, and then Salisbury got us all shafts. So I don't know. I have no idea what that shaft is. But
Yeah.
if I had my preference, I would go for like the lightest men's attacker shaft I can find.
Oh
Just so my
yeah.
stick.
That's what I have on this one right here. It's an ECD head, which is the lightest in the game, with this like string king. Oh man, I forget what kind it is, but it's the string king, and it's just an attack men's shaft. And this thing is like a feather. It's so light. It's really cool. Eclipse 2 is a very nice head as well. And actually, they're coming out with the 3, right? I think they're going to call it the Shadow. But I'm really excited for that one. Did you know that?
I did not know that. That's kind of fun.
All right, it is kind of fun. I've seen pics of it already along on the internet, and I'm pretty excited. I don't have a lot of contacts at STX, so I don't think I'm going to get one early, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Got to make those connections.
I know. All right. Anything else we need to know about William Smith? I feel like we covered their scouting report pretty well, but I'd love to
Yeah,
hear if you got more.
that's pretty much all they do. It's just that over and over again, just the stacks and C2s or the 1v1 ISOs on the alleys.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Well, good luck in the game tomorrow. This podcast will come out, several weeks from now, so we'll know the result. But I'm going to predict a 10-5 win with 10 saves from Kaitlyn. How's that sound? How's that sound?
I'm on it. I'll do it. I got you.
All right. If you get to 10, right, and the score is 10-4, you gotta let it in, just so our prediction comes true, right?
I don't think so.
All right. I'll give you permission to make all the saves. Make all the saves. Have you ever had a shutout?
Probably like back like when I first started club. I mean, unless you count like the quarters now.
I do.
Not like you do? Oh, then,
yeah.
Then I think I may have had one or two in the past few games of just like the quarters or like a half or something like that.
Yeah. Well, when I asked the question, I was in my mind, I was thinking games, which is very rare. Very rare. I never had a shutout, but certainly like I've had quarters where we shut them out and held them to 0 goals. And that's great. Like if you can do that, that is really awesome. And I mean, I like to talk a little bit. So I would let the other team know 0 goals that quarter. I wouldn't use those words. I wouldn't be so logical about it, but yeah, it was great. It was great. I love getting a shutout. And if you can do that, that's awesome. Okay. So you are the starter now. Yeah. Has there been a time where you were the backup? Sounds like maybe even last year. Like talk me through how that was for you, because it can be tough for some goalies who you want to get the starts. Obviously, there's only one of us. How did you deal with that?
So I was backup for the past 3 years, freshman, sophomore, and junior year. And then freshman year I went in like I knew I was like, ain't no way I'm getting in. I got 3 really good goalies in front of me. I might as well take this time to like improve and like learn from them from what I can. And I honestly just kept that same mentality through sophomore and junior year. Just kept learning and watching and trying new things. And so we like in practice, like backup goalies do like the scout goalie. So like if they're left-handed, we'll try left-handed sometimes, or if they have a wider stance, we'll do a wider stance. So then like my stance and style today is more like a morph of like everybody that I've tried to be.
I've heard that before. That's really cool. About goalies, sort of replicating another goalie's style of play for scouting purposes, and then realizing like, wow, that's pretty cool. If I play a little bit wider, I play a little bit deeper in my arc, or a little higher in my arc, or a little bit more narrow, or I put my hands here, or whatever. Like they end up feeling a little bit better and incorporate that into their game. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Did you ever play lefty? You're righty? Yeah. So did you ever play lefty? Righty. Yeah.
I was not good at lefty, but it was more just to be like, all right, they're rolling the crease. I hope they hit my stick.
Yeah.
Really good hold it in your offhand.
It is interesting because, like, did you ever play baseball or softball growing up?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, when you play baseball, right, like righties wear their glove on the left hand, and it's like if you think about it, like when a line drive's hit at you, like catching the ball is the same thing as making a save. So, yeah, it's just I don't know. Maybe it's because it's 2 hands. It's like much more comfortable to have your dominant hand on the top and go that way. I don't know. I do not know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out one day. Well, very cool. What about a time you went through a slump, Kaitlyn? Has that come up? And if so, like, how did you get out of that?
Yeah, I'd definitely say like last year, I was kind of like, oh goodness, I'm gonna be the starter next year. I'm a little nervous. But I started to keep like a little journal almost. I call it my confidence journal. And then I'll just like every time I went out and did something, I'd write one good thing I did and one bad thing I need to work on. And then the next time I went out, I'd focus on that one that thing I needed to work on.
Mm, that's cool. Talk to me about that. What other things did you write in your confidence journal?
It'd be like, oh, you had a great save on the 8 meter, you had a really good interception, stuff like that. And then like things I need to work on. Make sure you get your stick to the ground, make sure you're on
Mm,
your arc, get to pipe sooner. Like, don't bite to those high feeds when you don't need to.
yeah. And so before each practice, then you would review that
More of like mentally, I had it like in my head. So I do it every night
every
for like
night.
every practice. Yeah.
Oh, cool. And what, like, I'm also a big fan of journaling, I think, and I recommend all lacrosse goalies do that because it can be like it's a huge tool in the mental game because a lot of times like these thoughts like just float around in your head and it's so easy to like get in your own head and lost in those thoughts. And if you could just get them all out right onto a piece of paper, it helps tremendously. And you can kind of keep that organized as well. And it helps your confidence too. Like, you know, if you're not feeling like that confident some days, like go back and read what you wrote about, like, oh, you had this great save. Oh, you had this great game. You had this great interception. It's kind of like your confidence reservoir. And like you go back and tap into that and it gets you feeling good mentally, right?
Yeah. Or even going back to those like highlight reels I made from club. Like those help too.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Yeah, if you can watch your highlight reels, watch yourself in those good moments, watch yourself making those great saves, it gets you pumped up. I do that in my own business. So I do Lax Goalie Rat full time, right? And so there's just certain days where like you're off, you're not feeling good. And I'll go back and read some of those like testimonials or even videos that people have sent me about like, hey, like thank you so much, and you're doing great. And I'm like, all right, yeah, we're doing good. Let's go, right? Just get yourself in that positive mindset. It's a really powerful thing, I think.
Yeah. Or even just going into like today's gonna be a good day. I may not like this drill, but I'm gonna love this drill today.
There you go. There you go. What other mental game tools or mental toughness lessons have you learned along the way?
Let's see. Um, like just staying positive and goal. Just be like, all right, it went in. It's okay. Learn from it. Move on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, you know, learning how to give up or learning how to react to goals is tough. It's really tough, right? Um I posted a reel earlier this week about like high school goalie, right? And he gives up a goal and it's just like, oh, what the, oh man, like I can't, you know, I can't believe, like I'm not even supposed to be here. You know,
I
like
just watched that reel actually.
you did, yeah. Like, and it's just it's such a great example because it happens to so many goalies of like you give up a goal, and that's a lot of times that is your innate reaction. That's your first reaction. And you got to like train yourself to like you said, be positive, right? I'm going to get the next one, as opposed to that reaction. And I think it's kind of cool to see that because then that goalie ends up turning it around, and like he had a real bad first quarter, and second quarter he gave up just one goal, right? Great second quarter. I think he played just the first half. So like, you know, unbelievable job of turning it around. But like if you can uh you know, control your emotions and be positive when you give up a goal, you're going to do a lot better.
Well, I mean, I just did that in our Colby game. I probably had like 4 or 5 saves the entire game, and I wasn't doing too hot in the first 3 quarters. And last quarter, I was like, all right, last quarter, go all out. And I did.
Yeah. 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 And it works even like, you know, a lot of times goalies ask me like, how do, if you say you're on a bad club team or a bad high school team, it's like, how do I stay in the game when we're always getting shelled? Right. And it's like, make the next save is the answer. Like, you know, win the quarter. If you can't win the quarter, win the next 5 minutes. If you can't do that, win this possession. So it's always like breaking it down into these, you know, little as smallest units as you can. Just win that, right? Win that and take that away as your win because you can always pull out something. Or you can always think of something to write in your journal and under the positive column, right? Whether it's a nice save, nice pick, nice ground ball, great example of communication. Lots of stuff you can do there, right?
Yeah, so much stuff you could write down. It could be anything. It could be lacrosse. It could be school. It could have journal for each.
That's true. Doesn't even have to be lacrosse, right? Could be a relationship, like cool moment with your teammate outside the field. Like you said, school, A on a class, or a good project, or I love it. Cool. What do you study, by the way?
I'm an information systems major and exercise science minor.
Information system. What is an information system?
Um, I just say it's like the computer.
A system of information.
Yeah, it's kind of like networking, so like IT related things. I could do like cybersecurity, which is like my track right now, which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. So you said earlier your dad was a computer nerd, which, and the way you said it, I was going to say you were like a liberal arts major, but no, you're also a computer nerd.
I'm also a computer nerd.
Well, that's awesome.
So,
Okay, and then what was the other one? The minor?
I'm exercise science minor.
Oh, that's cool. Exercise science. So what have you learned in exercise science that we need to know?
Right now I'm learning about different fitness testing to see like flexibility to see like your range of motion and things and like stiffness and stuff, which is kind of cool. I have
Okay.
really flexibility. That's what I've learned.
Let's talk about that real quick. Let's hit on that. So flexibility is important for lacrosse goalies, right?
Yeah.
What test should I do to know if I'm flexible?
Oh, well, you're testing me right now. We just learned it too.
All right.
It'll come to me later.
Okay. I mean, it's some sort of stretch, right?
We use these don't remember the name, but they're like kind of like protractors, and then we'd measure like how far you could reach or like how far you could hyperextend or other or extension and flexion, stuff like that. And so
yeah. Now, do you study the actual muscles themselves too? Because I know that like kids, for example, or youth, I should say, they're very flexible. And I even remember myself like, sitting, playing video games with like, just in these positions that like I can't even get into anymore as a 40-year-old man. So like the muscles get tighter with age, right?
yeah, it's more just with age, you always just get less flexible as you go.
Uh-huh.
And the gender also helps. So like women are technically usually more flexible than men.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen that. Um, do you stretch? Do you yoga? Do you do those things or no?
I actually hate yoga. I probably
I
should
didn't ask. I
be.
didn't ask if you like it because I hate yoga as well. But I still do it occasionally.
I probably should do yoga because I am
Yeah,
probably the most flexible person on this planet.
yeah. You should. You really should. In all seriousness, because so many goalies have done it, and like being flexible in the hips in particular is it like really correlates to your ability to like explode and strength. So definitely start, especially as an exercise science minor. You gotta
Yeah,
come
I'll
back
start.
and you're gonna start. Okay. All right. I'll check
I'll
up on
start,
you in a couple weeks.
yeah, I'll start doing some yoga.
All right. I love it. Well, very cool, Kaitlyn. Any other cool stories from this year that we need to hear about? Good games, good moments.
My WNL game would probably be my best game so far. I had my career high of 12 saves, and I kept my team in the game, which was really fun. Um, I probably faced around like 30 shots that game, and we only lost by 1 point, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. 12 saves, 6 goals against. That is phenomenal. That is a phenomenal game, even though you lost. Yeah. So, like,
Yeah,
what's the feeling when you're walking off? Because in a certain way, I've had a game like this where I had 22 saves and we lost, and I was like, yeah, I still felt kind of crappy because we lost, but in a way, you're like, man, I don't know, you got to circle that game. I don't know, but
yeah.
you're sort of mixed, right?
I was kind of like, I was like amped up. I was like, okay. I was like, that was a really good game. But then I was also like, everybody was kind of down. So I was like, I am sad that we lost, but I am happy that I played well.
Yeah, it's kind of like mixed emotions. So, Okay, so you got that game. WNL, Washington and Lee, for those not familiar with it. What other great games have you had? 14-2 versus Stevenson.
Yes, that one. I honestly kind of forgot about all these games. I just only worry about the next one.
Yeah, there you go. 4 saves. So it looks like the defense was the defense was on point that game, huh?
Yeah, our
All
defense
right.
has been killing it like these past few games, and they have to keep it up.
Love it. Well, Kaitlyn, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's a pleasure getting to know you and chatting with you, chatting lacrosse goalie with you. If you had to leave the goalies with out there with a final piece of advice, what would that be?
Um, so MC and her family came up with this. It's called SBSB, see ball, stop ball. So if you're ever in a slump, just see ball, stop ball.
SBSB, see ball, stop ball. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I feel like that's something you could write on your glove, huh? SBSB.
Yeah, she used to write it on her wrist before every game.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I wrote it on a tennis ball and we played taps before every game.
All right. Hey, Kaitlyn, SBSB.
Yeah, SBSB.